Hi, good morning, everyone. This is Vinod Verma. I'm part of Google for Education team. Today, I'm going to discuss about the Google Admin Console, how we can use the Google Admin Console to create users, to create organizational units, to apply policies, and to change settings when we are going to create user IDs for teachers and students, how we should apply policies for every user. So I'm going to share my screen and I'll present Google Admin Console and the tabs in the Google Admin Console, how we can use them to apply the policies for every user. Now, there are two ways to log into Admin Console. Like I have already logged in, so let me just log out first and then show you how we can go ahead and log into Admin Console using the G Suite ID, where I can log in with my G Suite account. I can click on the 9 dots, the app grid, and I will find the admin console tab here. Now, the second option is I can go to admin.google.com and it is going to ask me to enter my credentials. Again, I have to select the account which is relevant for the G Suite admin console. So, as soon as I select the account, I have to enter the password and I'm going to be there in the admin console. So these are the tabs which you will see under admin console: dashboard, users, group, organizational units. You can manage all these from all these tabs. So let's begin. So first of all, when you are going to register your domain, the main domain which you have registered to get access to G Suite for Education, it is going to reflect under company profile. So when you open that company profile tab, you will get to see the main domain which you have registered, and there are some options where we can change some settings. Let's say if you want to upload the company logo, that is possible. We can go to personalization and we can upload the company logo, or else we can click on profile, where I get to see my organizational name. I can select the type of the organization I have registered the account for. I get to see the admin account. I can enter the secondary email address, and I can select the language for the specific user. Now, there are other features. Let's say if there are going to be new product release, let's say if you want to keep that manual or automatic, so we recommend to have it automatic. So as soon as there is a new feature launched for either for Google Meet or Classroom, that is going to update automatically. So that's how we can make changes, get to see the super admin account and the organizational profile information under profile. Now let's go back to the home page, where I get to see all the tabs under admin console. Right. So as soon as we are going to create the user IDs, so the first thing is to create the organizational units, then create the groups, and then you create the users. Because when you are going to create the users, you can select the OU, and then you can transfer the user in that specific OU. So let me click on organizational unit. So this is like a dummy account I'm using. So you will find many OUs I've already created. However, we can go to the plus sign. Let's say if I click on the plus icon here, which says create new organizational unit, and this is going to give me an option to create a new OU. Now, in a school environment, we suggest we can have multiple OUs as well. So let's say we can have one OU for teachers, one OU for management, and one OU for students. The reason why you want to keep it separate, because when you are going to apply policies for students, because every policy and the rights to use the tools will be different from for students and for teachers. So you might apply a different policy for students, and you might apply different policy for teachers. So when you are going to create a OU, which is going to be specific for teachers and students, it is going to be easy to apply those policies, because one policy then will go for the entire OU. So you don't have to select users individually. You can just select one OU and you can apply that policy in that OU. So now I can I can give a name, if it is going to be just for students. Like I have already created the organizational unit. Sorry, I have now I can create the organization unit for the students, and I can just simply click on create. Now there are options where we can even have sub OUs as well. So let's say, for example, I have created an OU for school teachers. That if I want to have multiple the sub OUs, maybe a subject wise, that is possible. So we can either add a subject, and then we can also add students under that OU. So that's how we can create OUs. And then we can add users in that specific organizational unit. Now, once my OUs are there, which are going to be different for the teachers and student, then I can easily go ahead and I can create users. I'll go back to home page. Yeah. Now, after creating the OUs, I can also create groups, because you can then add users in that group which you are going to create. So let's say if you want to create a group which is going to be only for teachers, where you want to do some announcements or you want to share some information with, only with teachers, then I can create one group with that name, and I can add members in that group. So when I'm going to create a user ID for the teacher, I can add that user ID in this group, so that teacher will receive the communication when I'm going to share any information, or if I'm going to go make any announcement for that specific group. So I can add users, and I can change the groups as well. So let's say if I'm creating a user and if I want to add it in this group, that is possible. So it's better to have groups first. Maybe it could be different for uh, subject teachers, it could be different for the management. So we can have different groups, and then we can add the users in that group as well, so it becomes easy to communicate with all the people in that specific group. Now, after creating OUs and groups, third thing is to we can go ahead and create users. So now as soon as I click on users, I have two options again. I can add a new user where I can do, add them individually. But if in case we already have information about all the students in that for that specific class, then it is really going to be easy to use bulk upload user. So that will give you an option to, create user IDs in bulk. So when I click on bulk upload users, it gives me an option to have a CSV file. So first thing is to download the CSV template. Now when I download the CSV template, I get to see in my folder. I can just click on the folder and I can open the CSV file which I've just downloaded. There, this is my CSV file. Yeah. Now this is going to give me multiple columns. There are some columns which are required where you need to enter the details about the users, and some are optional. So let's say the first name is required, last name is required, email address is required, password you can create, organizational unit path if you want to add, you can add. So there are some columns which are required, but if you go further, I mean, these are not really required. So you can use or enter the details about the required columns. So let's say if I'm going to add the details about the first student, now it is not going to save automatically. So you have to click on save now, and it is going to create your file, which you can then upload as a CSV file document to create the bulk user. Now again, I can just save this file, which is user 1-1, and I can just save it. Now, I can now add all the details about the users. So maybe I can just simply add the last name, and similarly, I can have multiple students, or I can just add the details about all the students I have in one class, and then I can just close this file. Now, when I go back to my admin console, now it gives me an option to attach the CSV file. So this is a file which we have recently saved. Now, as soon as I click on attach file, I can search for that file which I have just saved, which has all the information about these students. Now this is the file I have recently saved. Now I can just click on open. Now it has attached my CSV file, and now I can just click on upload, and it is going to create the user IDs, and it is going to add all the users in your user group. So that's how you can add users. Either you can add individually, or you can just do a bulk upload using CSV file. So that's about the users. Now I'll again go back to the home page. So you can absolutely scroll, and you can use the sidebar option as well if you want to, use a specific tab. However, you get to see all the tabs in the home page as well. Now let's talk about the apps, because every user will have access to all the apps under G Suite for Education. So you get to see all these options where you can manage even the apps under G Suite for Education. Let's say if you want to change the access rights for any user, then you can absolutely manage it from G Suite. Or as a administrator, if you want to add some third-party app, and then you want to give right or access to the student or a class or a OU, then you can do that from the marketplace. So let's talk about the marketplace apps first. Now, this is just an example. I have added some apps. Again, as an administrator, you can add many apps available in the marketplace, and then you can give rights. So now on the left, you get to see all the OUs you have created, and then you can select the OU, and you can enable the app for that specific OU or for the specific user. So let's say I have created school teachers. So I go to school teachers, and if I want to make changes for the maths OU, the students under this specific OU, then I can just click on maths. Now whatever change I'm going to make here, it is going to apply for the students under maths OU only, because we have selected that specific OU. Similarly, you can select either you want to make the change for all the organizational units, or if you want to select a specific OU, and then you can make the changes. So like again, I can just go to uh, so this is like right now on for everyone. So I can click on the uh, on tab, and it is going to give me an option to make the changes. So that's how I can either you know enable it for everyone, or I can just disable it. So nobody will have access to this app, or everybody will have access to that, because I've selected a OU now. So I can make the changes for OU. But if you want to make changes for users, you can select user as well. So I'll go back to my marketplace app tab. I'll go to apps. Now this is about the marketplace where I can search and even add more apps. Let me just show you that option as well. Right. So now when I'm going to click on add app to domain install list, it is going to open a new tab where I can find the apps, and then I can add in my admin console. So if you want to add some other app, and then you want to give access to the students, you will be able to find apps in the marketplace. You can add it in the console first, and then you can give access to the students. So on the left side, you will get to see the options. Let's say if we are searching for educational apps, so we can go for education tab, and we can click on this academic resources, and I'll get to see apps related to this. So again, you can filter, and you can select the app, and you can then add it to your admin console. So just an example, if I click on this app, if I want to add this app in my admin console, now it is going to give me an option to install, and it is going to add in my admin console. So I'll just quickly do that. Just give me a moment. I have to change the account since I have multiple accounts right now. So I have to change the user ID for this. Let's click on this app. Now it gives me an option to do a domain install. I can do that. Click on continue. Now I can just click on I agree and I can accept. Now this is going to be available in my app grid as well. So I just click on next and done. Now I've just refreshed the page and now I can see AO Docs app added in my admin console. So now I can just go ahead and select the OU, and now I can give right if they can access the app which I have recently added, and they will be able to access when they are going to log in with their credentials. So similarly, I can go to Marketplace, I can search for an app, and then I can add in the admin console, and then I can give rights to the students. Right, now I'll go back to the app tab and I'll show you quickly about the usage and how we can control the apps we have under G Suite for Education. Because every app like Google Classroom, Google Meet, it gives you different options to manage, and you can give rights accordingly. If teacher, like for example, teachers can create class, students can only just join class. For Google Meet, teachers will be able to send the request and they will be able to record the meeting, where students cannot do that. So all those settings we can change from the admin console itself. Right. So again, I'm back on my home page. I'll again click on apps. And this time we are going to click on G Suite apps. So this is going to reflect all the apps we have under G Suite for Education. Now, when I click on G Suite for Education apps, this is how I get to see all the apps. Now, it is on for everyone because I have actually enabled this for all the users we have in this group. But again, you can select on the left side. Now, it gives me an option to select OU, or I can select a group as well. So if you have created a group and if you want to make changes in the group for these apps, you can select a group, or you can just go ahead and select the organizational unit. Now, for example, if I want to make changes only for the students under maths OU, so I can click on maths again, and now I can make changes only for the students under this specific OU. Now it is on for everyone. So let's say, for example, I go to Google Classroom, and it is going to give me different options where I can change the settings. So first setting as an administrator, which should be on by default, about the access to the classroom. Let's say who all can access Google Classroom. So I'll just show you those settings as well. Now these are the options. So let's say when I go to the settings for my classroom, I can select only the users under my domain can access Google Classroom, or if you want to give access to other users as well. However, we always recommend to have access only for domain users because the data which you are going to share using Classroom or Meet, it's going to remain in your domain. So it's good to have option only for your domain users. But if in case you want to change the setting, it is possible. You can make the change in the Google Classroom itself. Similarly, we can make this changes for Google Meet, like who can record the setting, the session, who will have access to do a streaming, if you want to do a live broadcast for the same session you are doing. That is again possible in Google Meet as well. Now, when we are going to create a Google Classroom, so it is important for teachers to have, they should be able to add guardian as well. So you know this is the option I was talking about, who can create class. So this is going to be only for the verified teachers, or the teachers who are still in the process. So only teachers can create class, not the students. So students will be able to only join class. Now this is about the guardian access. If in case you want to share some details about the parent, with the parents for the classes or the assignments you're going to share, then you can enable this option, because it is going to be easy for the teacher to share the entire report card or the details about the assignment for a specific student with the parents. So that gives you an option in the Google Classroom itself, where you can just email all the details and share with the parents as well. So similarly, we can make the changes for all the tools. I'll quickly show you about Google Meet. So for the administrators, it is important because recording feature and stream feature is not on by default. So you can go to Google Meet and you can enable that. So when the teacher is going to start the Google Meet session next time, she will be able to record the session as well. So similarly, you can give the broadcasting rights. So if in case it is important to live broadcast the session, then you can live stream the session as well. So these are the options. These are settings we can change for Google Meet. And similarly, I can select all the other apps and make the changes. So the best way is to have create the OUs first, then we create the groups, and then we create the users, and then we can add the users in that specific OU or in the group. So it's easy to apply policy when you are going to open a specific app, and if you want to make changes for a user or for a OU, then you can just select it from the left menu bar, and you can make the changes. So, and the best part, all the users under that specific OU, that is going to reflect for all the users. So one click and the policy is going to apply for all the users in that specific OU. So that's how we can manage all the apps for all the users there. I'll go back to homepage again, and I'll talk about the reporting tab. So again, for the administrators, it is really important to generate reports, and it again gives me option to generate a report either for a specific app, a user, or I can again select the OU. So I click on reports, and I get to see the first thing is the highlights, about the status of the accounts, the storage being used, how many files being shared. So you get to see all the information when you go to the reporting tab. Now, let's say if I want to see a specific report, maybe related to Google Classroom, I can just go to Google Classroom and I can see how many active classes I have, how many posts we have created, classes we have created. So all the reports are available in the reporting section, and you will be able to download the report, and then you can convert it into a sheet format. So it's easy to download the reports as well. Similarly, I can select any other app. So let's say if I want to see how many Meet sessions we have created so far. So as an administrator, I can see all the Meets created so far in my domain, and along with the meeting code. So that's how you can generate reports for all the apps we have under G Suite for Education. Now it gives you an option for user reports as well. Now again, I can select the accounts I have created, and then I can generate the report for the specific user. So I get to see how many users I have right now, the active user, the status of the domain. So all that information is available under account section. So it gives you option for all the options on the left where you can select the app, and then you can create or generate a report, and then you can transfer it into a sheet format if you want to download that specific report. Now, for the users who have recently, applied for G Suite for Education, just in case if they want to see the status of the application, if it is not yet, approved or upgraded to G Suite for Education, so we can go to Billing tab, and we can check the status there. So let's say if you are still in the trial period, or if you have already applied and you are waiting for the approval from our support team, you will get to see the status in the Billing tab. So it will either say, you are in a trial period, or it is under G Suite for Education. Yeah, still loading. Like I can see, it is absolutely active for me right now. Similarly, you will get to see G Suite for Education subscription, or it will say you are in a trial period. So the best way to check the status in the Billing tab. So these are the tools which we can absolutely start. And if you want to get into details about data migration, let's say if you want to transfer the data from one user to another, so that is possible from data migration. You can manage domains. If you are going to manage multiple domains, for example, then you can absolutely have a second domain as a secondary domain, or you can add domain alias. So this section is only for, if you are going to add multiple domains in one admin console. So you can have one primary domain, and then you can have secondary domain or the domain alias, and you can manage all these settings for the secondary domains as well. Now, if you will face any problem with any of the tools, under G Suite for Education, the last thing I want to talk about is the support tab, where you can just click on the support tab. You will find a list of options on the right side where you can, connect with our support team. So you will have option to, if you are searching for any information, then you will definitely find on the right side, or if you can just click on the contact support tab, and you will be able to, you know connect with our support team. So let's click on G Suite, and now I can just simply go ahead and I can chat with our support team. I can phone or I can email the details. So it's always good to, either chat or send email detail, because you will be able to share the complete information or detail about the problem on email. And as soon as you click on the email, you can share the details, and it goes to our support team, and they will get back to you to resolve the problem. So the support tab we can use for any issue you're going to face on, either for G Suite for Education tools, or if you are facing any problem for any of the tabs we have under Google Admin Console. So that's about Google for Admin Console. We can use all these tabs, and we can manage and keep the complete environment secure. You can manage all the user IDs you have under your domain. And if you are going to have multiple domains, it is possible to manage multiple domains as well. So that's all from my end. Thank you very much.
So Vinod, yeah, so we can't leave you so easily, right? Because we've got more questions coming in, and I've also got Murli. I just want to pull Murli also. A lot of
Right, sir.
people. Murli, are you there? Murli. Okay. So what I'm going to do is we had distributed a form. So I want to just share that screen, and we can probably you can answer some points there. Let me just pull on the form.
Sure.
Sorry, how am I sharing this? Hi, Murli. Yeah. So, Vinod, can you see the form?
Right, so it's still, yes, now I can see it, yes.
Okay, done. So I think I will raise the question and then probably because there are many questions which have come in. Okay, so
Right.
one query was it doesn't allow to join the meeting from the Gmail account created by student. You've got to say something on this. It doesn't allow to join the
Google Meet,
meeting. Yeah.
right. So we can definitely invite other accounts as well when we are creating Google Meet. So it does not block by default, but if in case the administrator might have changed the settings in the admin console, we can request the administrator to enable that feature. Then absolutely we can invite Gmail users also to attend our Google Meet. So that's possible.
So, but when you do a G Suite, right, we create student IDs under the domain, right? That's the so. I mean, there was one school by error they told all the students to create separate Gmail addresses, not under G Suite, and give those email addresses. And so finally, we had to tell them that you have to create IDs under the domain. You want to because there's a lot of confusion between Gmail and the G Suite IDs. You want to clarify a bit on that?
Right, sir. So Gmail is a consumer account where when we talk about G Suite ID, that's the enterprise because you are going to create ID under G Suite for education. Now, there are many benefits. So I'll just talk about the benefits. So when you create an ID for G Suite user, the first thing is they are going to get access to all the tools we have under G Suite for education. So there are 13 tools. Maybe I can just name the tools: Google Docs, Sheets, Slides, Google Classroom, Google Meet, Chat, Google Keep, Google Calendar. So the user who has a G Suite ID will have access to all these tools. Now the biggest advantage is the drive storage. Now, when I compare the G Suite with a Gmail account, there is a limited, the storage you get in a Gmail account. However, when you go for a G Suite user, you are going to have access to Google Drive where you can save all your content and all your data, and that is going to be unlimited. So, let's say, as a teacher, if I'm going to take multiple sessions, if I'm going to record multiple Google Meet, all those meetings I can save in my Google Drive. I can save all my resources in my Google Drive. I can even create a drive folder specific for my students, or specific for one class, and then I can share all my resources from the Google Drive itself. So that's how you get unlimited drive storage. Unless, if I compare with Gmail account, there is a limited drive storage. So these are the benefits you get under G Suite for Education user. When you create a G Suite ID, you get access to all the apps and the drive storage, which is going to be unlimited.
So there is a question on the screen, Vinod. Can I log in with the same ID using my phone as well as a laptop as and when required?
Absolutely, you can. So you can definitely, in fact, when you are going to use on your mobile phone, you will also be able to, install the apps for all the tools we have under G Suite. So, for example, if you want to use Google Classroom from your phone, it is going to be easy to use. You can absolutely use it from phone as well. So you can log in with your G Suite ID from your phone, and then you will get access to all the apps you're going to install on the phone, which comes under G Suite for Education. So you will definitely find app for Google Classroom. You will definitely find app for Google Docs, Google Sheets, Google Slides, Google Meet, Google Keep. So all these tools are apps. They're available in app format as well. So you can definitely install the apps and you can use it from your phone as well.
Okay. Uh, the next question is, sir, when we create classes per section, will we be able to manage the classroom in the same manner as we used to do in the physical classroom? Or is it better to create subject-wise classroom?
Very interesting question, sir. So, I mean, that's really possible because, like we have in our physical environment, let's say we have grade five and that has multiple sections. So, similarly, we can have, grade five virtual class created and then have multiple sections for that as well. However, if you want to create basis on the subject, then we can absolutely create on the language. It could be a subject class, or it could be a language class, or it could be a grade class, and then it has multiple sections. So that is possible. So you can actually create multiple classes with grade, and then you can have sections attached to that.
Yeah, specifically because in India we follow the grade wise, but probably worldwide a lot of people follow subject wise. So students travel to different classes rather than teachers traveling, right? So I think this accepts
Right.
both format. It depends on the volume of the kids. It depends on your context. I only humbly request you, don't try too many variations, right? Try to follow the similar kind of format which your learners are used to it, because the moment you change a format, then probably when the school reopen again you change a format. So I think don't bring a lot of changes, because it takes time to settle down, right? Everyone has to settle down. So I think depending on that you can plan. Then I'm coming to next question. So creating ID and all has already been addressed, right, Vinod?
Right, sir. Yeah.
Yeah. So, can a Google administrator view or edit teachers' content in classroom to help them?
Absolutely, it is possible, sir. So when we create a classroom, we have four tabs on the top, which is stream, classwork, people, and grade. So under people tab, it gives me an option to invite other teachers. Similarly, I can invite my administrator. So I just have to add their email address, and I can invite them as a co-teacher for that class, so they get to see all the content I have shared, and I can even make changes if I want to add something, and share with the students. That is possible. So under people tab, you have an option for teacher, where you can invite either another teacher or the school administrator to work with you and manage the class for you.
Thanks. The next one is slightly lengthy question, and probably you'll have to. I'll read it out. When the user creates our domain belonging ID in their mobile, and if the mobile has no pattern or pin lock set, that is only swipe, then user is not able to add our domain, the Gmail account in their mobile. We have experienced this with many teachers' account of our domain. It says something like mobile screen lock security policy do not allow to create account, and those teachers got one message of security alert in the mobile notification area from Google that forcefully says to apply any screen lock method, that is pattern or pin. Swipe will not do. So did you get it?
Yes, but I need to check, sir, because it depends on the maybe the iOS or the Android version we have on the
Okay.
phone, if it actually support that security feature. But we can
Okay.
definitely check and get back to you on this, sir.
Okay. Murli, whenever you want to come in, you can come in. Okay. Okay. I just leave that to you. Okay. Then, how feasible it is to teach on a mobile as a teacher with average of 50 students and screen being very small?
So you can definitely use the Classroom or Google Meet to conduct the session. However, when it comes to sharing the resources, you still have option to share it from your mobile, because you can install the Google Drive app, where you can absolutely save all your resources. Maybe it is good to create the resources from the laptop device, because you can create multiple forms, you can create documents, you can add images, you can add videos. So it becomes really easy to use a device like a laptop or a desktop. But yes, if you want to assign them from the mobile app, that is possible. So then it is going to be easy for you to manage also, because it is a small screen, and you have to do multitasking when you create a class and when you share the resources. But if you have already added them in your Google Drive, then yes, from your mobile you can just simply go to Classroom, you can go to your Drive, add the file, attach resources, and then you can share with the entire class. Similarly, you can use Google Meet, where you can address all the students. You can conduct a session using Google Meet app as well. But yes, when it comes to sharing resources or assignments or maybe some assessments, then it's good to have a device to create and then save it on your drive, and then you can assign them.
Okay. So I would like to just add here that when you're doing online teaching, I think the best screen is slightly larger, should be larger than a mobile, because the advisable is at least it should be like a tablet size. You have to imagine that even when you do a Google Meet, the more the people are in the Google Meet, the screen size might be, the cameras become smaller and smaller, and for you to manage. So I think the best device should start from probably a tablet size at least. No matter people due to the current situation might not have a tablet, might not have a, they might just be having a smartphone, but that's not the ideal way. You should look forward that you try some other devices to make it more effective, and in due course I think schools are doing that. Only because being in lockdown we were stuck, but now I think schools are slowly opening up and doing that. Another question which has come on the chat is, can we combine division of two classes to teach them simultaneously? I would like to respond here saying that everything depends on the school. But let me tell you, when it comes to online teaching and learning, the class size has to be smaller because, first of all, you as a teacher, you're learning to manage that class. You need to ensure that you need to reach to every child. So even your class size, regular class size of 40 is a big number when you actually teach online, right? Because you have 40 cameras when you're teaching them on Google Meet, to track and ensure they're reaching out to every child is not easy. So no matter technology allows you to combine, but I think that's not the best practice to do. Instead, I would recommend that your division you should actually divide into three classes. So if you've got 40, probably you should see how you could divide more. See, we always in physical school we had a big issue of large classrooms, but in virtual classroom it is left to you, right? You can make smaller classrooms, multiple classrooms. So many schools have taken different types of strategies, but many schools have understood that to keep smaller classroom is better in technology than having large classroom, right? So I think, but that's a call which is left to the school. Another question which has come on the chat is, when we are inviting students to the class, we are not able to invite students in a day with one login, not more than three into three class. I'm not sure about this. You could understand.
I didn't get it. So when we are inviting students to the class, we're not able to invite students in a day with one login, not more than three classes.
So usually, correct me if I'm wrong, usually in a Google Classroom, you allocate a Meet link for every classroom, right? And kids can
Right.
come as per that time there, right? There is no restriction, and you don't
There is
need
no
to,
restriction.
yeah, and you don't need to distribute links, and give it away. No. So when you actually set up your classroom, you can also set up your Meet, the link, and you can give a code for the students to enter, at those allocated time. Am I right in understanding?
Absolutely. So there are two ways to invite again. So we can either use the class code, which is
Yeah.
going to be unique for every class, and that is not going to, there is no limitation that, a student can only join two or three classes, because that class code is unique for every class you create. So you can just share the class code and they will be able to join using that class code. Or as a teacher, I can just again go back to my people tab and I can add all my students as well. Like I'm going to invite other teachers. Similarly, I can add students also because I already have IDs for all the students. So I can just add them and they will become part of my classroom. So two
Yeah.
ways I can add student in the people tab, or I can just share the class code and they will be able to join. And there is no limit for that. So
Okay. Now I'm reading the next question. Can Google Administrator keep common background for all in Google Meet? I think they are mentioning about the background in the class of the teacher.
Okay, so I think that option is not here as of now, but yes, we're still working on some more features which you will definitely see in future. Some other moderator controls, but yes, that is not there yet.
So, if I understand correctly, Google as an organization is continuously working on upgrading and upgrading their quality, noise reduction, many kind of features they're working on, and you won't like it won't be like announced saying that okay it's going to happen now. No, it's an ongoing process. From what I understand, they keep adding value. So suddenly in the morning when you wake up, see, oh, this is also coming, this is also improved, because there are so many feedback coming to the support team, and I think they're just adding value and trying to incorporate that every time they introduce something. So I think that's what I understand. So how can we give homework to students? Homework, which is
Homework.
I felt was the most easiest question, right? Because I think giving assessments,
I mean,
conducting assess. Yeah, please.
yes, absolutely, sir. So yes, again, from classroom, we have many options to select. I mean, again, I can go to my classwork tab, and that gives me many options. So I can either just share a question, I can either create an assignment, or I can use tools like Google Docs, Sheets, or Slides, and then give them an homework. So that classwork tab give you all the options where you can create assignments. If you want to do graded assignment assessment, that is also possible. So you can create a Google form where you can add the video or the image, and then you can have questions related to either the image you have added or the video you're going to add. And then you can share that form with all the students in your class, and that can be graded or ungraded both. So when they are going to answer, when they are going to submit the form, they can also see the score. And as a class teacher, you will definitely get to see the score for all the students under the grading grade tab. And then from there you can definitely create a report card as well if you want to see the score on weekly basis or quarterly basis. So you get to see the score for all the assignments and the resources or the assessments you have shared for all the students. So yes, under classwork tab you get to see all the options where you can share assignments, assessments, resources, questions, material, all that can be done from the classwork tab.
So, as teachers, we have to understand that the basic importance of being a teacher is not to mute all, right? In traditional teaching, in our face-to-face teaching, we always believe that student voice is very important in education, right? And this is one question which you're reading on the screen about mute all, which when our teachers have come down to technology, they are asking us so much about quietening that student voice. Please try to understand that yeah, when you start building a discipline around online teaching, it's nice to bring these kind of practice because you want to silence and you want to share your instruction. But at some point of time, you have to move to a scenario where a child decides when to mute and unmute, right? So if a child would like to keep unmute himself and want to ask a question, he's able to do that. So I think personally, in my belief, we want an environment when everyone has a right to mute and unmute rather than just teachers saying mute. You know, so no matter, I think this feature also may be reviewed by Google support, the Google team, and we don't know when it would come, what would happen. But I think I've experienced a lot of classroom where teachers are not telling students to mute all, right? The kids are so smart; they know when to mute and unmute, and that should be in my view, your outcome when you actually do online teaching. Just my suggestion. And can we restrict students from presenting their screen when teachers are teaching? This is the most disturbing feature. So I think this is right, because not only for students, but a lot of it happens also for the adults. Because what happens is sometimes the word present, right? It almost looks like an attendance for many, right? So in a lot of meetings, I have realized a lot of principals, and they quickly click it, not with a wrong intention. They feel it's almost like an attendance. So I think, but over time, people have started learning, people have started settling down, people have started understanding. So the more the children get used to it, they would understand it. So when I was talking to a group of children, they were actually talking about, in our classroom, the most of the challenge which we are facing is teachers' internet and teachers, challenges. So I think kids are also very smart. There are children who are new to technology, but trust me, they will pick up faster. So you have to keep building. Like whenever Vinod starts a session and when we start a meeting, we have like a hygiene, right? You call it, what do you call it, Vinod?
Yep, right, sir. Hygiene checklist. I mean, the meat checklist. Yes.
Need checklist. So it appears on the screen, and some advices are given that do not click on this, don't do this. Some guidelines for the classroom is given in advance. So I feel that the moment they start reading, and after 4 or 5 meet sessions, they will get that kind of discipline and they will absorb it, right? So don't try to bring forceful practices, which I think humans can actually and children can actually learn and build a discipline around it. So that would happen. Uh, there are. Is it necessary for parents to know about Google Admin Console?
Google Admin Console. I mean, not really about Google Admin Console, but they should be aware about the security and the privacy features.
Yeah.
And yes, we can definitely share what all we are doing in the school, why we are doing, and what all security parameters we are going to cover when we are going to create the G Suite user account. So that we can definitely share.
But do you
So
want
there
to
are.
share who's a Google admin in a school? Who's that particular person, and what is that particular person's role? Because every teacher cannot be an admin, right? And
Absolutely,
a
sir.
parent cannot be an admin because is the admin is the admin of the Google Classroom on behalf of the school. So who's that usually that particular person?
So there are, I mean, different ways to have the admin also. So we can have a super admin who will have, rights and access to everything, we have under admin console. Then we can have an administrator who is going to manage all your users, all your groups, all your OUs. So let's say as a teacher, if you want to use a specific app, because every teacher might not have access to admin console. So the school administrator, that one person will have access to all these features. So yes, you can absolutely request your school administrator if you want to enable any feature for your class, or if you want to add any app for your class students. Then yes, that is possible. You can absolutely request the administrator, and they can enable that feature. But it is difficult to give rights to every teacher for the admin console. But yes, if you want to manage certain settings of your class which you're going to create, that is already available in Google Classroom. So Google Classroom has a setting tab where you can, again, select options. You can enable some features, disable some features for your classroom. But yes, if you want to make changes for all the students which are, they're under one OU or one group, then yes, we can request the concerned person from the school, the administrator, and he can make those changes.
Uh, we had a school which had a challenge which I shared with you about bulk email address. They were not able to
Yes, sir.
upload that bulk. What is your thought about it?
I think, sir, there. I mean, I have tried it. So if you change, I mean, what was the error they were getting? Was it related to the file, or they were not able to
I
enter the
think they were
details?
not. I'll have to check that. But I think it was more. So yeah,
Sir,
it
mostly what I
says.
receive from the people.
Yeah, please. Yeah, people might have
Sir,
called you also. Tell me.
sir,
Tell
mostly
me.
yes, exactly. So many people they are making a mistake in creating the ordering units, sir. In such a way, they have to give the path as per the structure which was given in their admin console. It should be in a case sensitivity. In such a way, if the people are giving like students in all capital letters, they have to keep students in all capital letter in the CSV file also. People are giving
Vinod. Yeah.
same structure they have to keep in the process.
So I think uh, how do we address this? Because I think schools are not able to understand the formats, right?
Yes,
Uh,
sir. So I have shared that in my session. So when we download the CSV file, we should not, we should enter the details for all the students in the same format. We can use the required fields where we can enter the details like name, first name, last name, the email ID which you're going to create for a student, and then we save the file. We should not make the changes in the column, and we should enter the same details in the same format for all the students.
Hmm.
Once you save the file, it has to be in the same format. Do not change the name of the file also while saving it. So let it be, with the default name it is going to create, and it is going to save in your folder. But yes, you can absolutely find that file when you are going to upload. So when you are entering the details, it has to be same for all the students, and do not customize it. You can leave the option blank which you don't want to fill in the form, but don't delete anything, and keep it same for all the users, and save it in the default name format. Do not change the file name also. That's all,
Vinod,
and then you can absolutely upload the file.
one question on the screen you would like to answer?
Can a
Can
school
a
create
school?
100? Sorry, go ahead, sir.
Yeah. So the question is, can a school create 100 classrooms with 4,000 emails?
So there is no limit when you are going to create the email IDs for or the user IDs under your domain. So you can definitely have unlimited user IDs for your domain. And as a one class teacher, I can definitely create 25 classes, and I can definitely have multiple students. I mean, there is no limit to have students in the classroom. But I just want to understand: are you talking about the overall classes of that school, which are going to be
Yeah, I
100,
think, yeah. So it is
or
it is just trying to say that I have got 4,000
overall?
kids. I've got 100
Right.
classroom. Can I have all my school into Google Classroom with the individual emails to everyone? I think even
Absolutely possible.
universities do it, right? Universities have larger sizes, and there are. I know of a large group which has almost got like 30,000 kids. Everyone is enrolled. Everyone has got email address, which is the G Suite. So henceforth, I think we should not call it. You have to correct me. We should not call it. It's a Gmail email. It should be G Suite, right?
Yes. G
Because the
Suite, right,
problem
sir.
is sometimes you say, I have signed in using Gmail, so I get confused. So I think the right word to use is not, if you have registered in G Suite and using, children have got G Suite email address, right? Not Gmail. So that kind of
Absolutely.
wording always becomes a problem. There is another question which you can read on the screen, and
Right, sir.
Murli. After creating all the users for the OU, is there some way I can generate a name list of users per sub OU to just verify that user duplicates are avoided at the admin level? Yeah, any one of you, Murli or you want to share?
So in case if the people are trying to it won't accept, sir. You may get the error, which contains error log, which contain like a duplicate email IDs existing.
So,
Means they can try with the same content, but the existing email ID it won't take.
uh, one minute. How do we fix audio issues with Google Meet? I mean, I think it all depends on the internet. It depends on that time, right? I mean, is there any specific things we can talk about?
You can definitely check the settings, the audio settings when you are going to attend Google Meet. It gives you an option when you are going to attend. It gives you an option to check the settings also. But yes, if you are facing any audio issues, that depends on the bandwidth at the user's end. So if you are facing audio issue, then the best way is to switch off the video, because it gives you both the option. You can enable the video where people can see you. So if you're facing a bandwidth problem, then the best way to is to switch off the video, and you can continue with the audio discussion. Then it will save a lot of bandwidth for you, and you can have a better communication and a better connection when you disable the video mode. So that's possible.
Another question on the screen. You want to answer?
Yes, sir. So the best way is to do it from Classroom, because when you run, because Google Classroom will also have a Google Meet. Now the two things are Google Meet and Google Calendar. They are integrated in Google Classroom. So as a teacher, I can continue with my class and I can start a video conference session for my classroom itself. So I don't have to leave classroom to start the video conference. That is one. And second, it gives you more control, because unless the teacher is there, the teacher should be the first one to join the meet, and then she can accept all the students. So she can either allow or deny, to get the students on the same session. And teacher should be the last person to leave the session, because once the teacher will leave that session, the students will not be able to come back or will not be able to use the same link to join on the meet again. So the best is to teacher should be the first one to enter from classroom, and teacher should be the last person to leave. And then after that, again, two ways: we can either reset the link, or we can disable the link for the students. So that option you will find in settings in classroom itself.
I've also realized that after my meets, usually, because I've finished the meet and I just step out like in a regular, and there might be some people in the room, and I assume that they're leaving the meet. One day I realized that I'm not getting the recording right, and then I felt that maybe there are some people still inside the meet room. When I went inside, there are two people who actually stepped out but just kept it on. So then I realized that till the time everyone doesn't go off, and then only I go off, and then the recording comes to me, right? Otherwise, those two
Absolutely.
people who were just sitting idle, they were actually not there. They didn't just sign out. They just remained in
Correct.
the meet, and that was delaying the recording to come to me over an email. So now what I
Absolutely.
do is, like you said, I'm the last person to leave. If there is someone who's stuck there still, just like idling, I remove them out of the meet, because only after they go and I go, and after I wind off the meeting, I'm able to get the recordings. So I think you're right. We should be the last person to leave. Uh,
Absolutely.
can we take attendance in the meet?
Yes, we do have an extension which is called Google Meet Attendance. So you can definitely add the extension in Google Meet, and using that, you can take the attendance for all
Can
the
you
participants.
can you share how do you get the extension? Because they might
Sure.
not know. Yeah.
Yeah. So you can definitely go to Chrome Web Store. So when you open the Chrome browser, you can go to Chrome Web Store, and from Chrome Web Store, you will be able to find the extension for Google Meet. I mean, there are many extensions for other tools as well, but yes, specifically for attendance, we can go to Chrome Web Store. It's an again web browser, web-based application, web-based tool. So when you go to Chrome Web Store, you can just simply type Google Meet attendance, and that will give you the list of extension. You can select the one which says Google Meet attendance extension, and then you can add that extension in your Google Meet, and you will be able to use that.
Also, there are many more extensions. If you do a little bit research, you will understand that probably if you want to see everyone together, there is a grid view extension. If you want to generate certificates after a particular session, there is something known as Certify EM. So there are many extensions, and I think you should do a little bit research. All these extensions only add value to the way you teach and learn, and and just build up the experience. Another question is, without the permission of admin, is it possible to get to the data drive and download the data and information of G Suite by a member? It's almost like
So
so. I think you shouldn't worry so much, right? Without the admin has get got control totally. So without the admin's permission, nothing wrong can happen, right? But I think, like Vinod rightly said, don't make everyone the admin, right? Someone who understands technology, someone is in control, working with the school leadership should be the person, because they're holding the whole domain and they're holding the whole, the classroom. So, but there's no worry about anyone coming and quietly entering your room and picking up data and running away. It's not as entertaining as we think. So just relax and don't get worried. Don't get anxious about
and
it.
Right.
Yeah.
Even within your domain, you can even enable that setting where, let's say, if you are going to make a folder and if you want to share some resources with other teachers or students, then you can even let's say if you want them just to view the document, they should not be able to download. That is also possible. So you can enable that feature where they only get to see the document, but they cannot download that. They cannot copy that. They cannot even comment or they cannot even edit that. So they just only get to see that. So that is possible. So we can either do it for the document or we can do it for the folder as well.
Okay. This is the same problem which I told you, right? So I don't know what happened after 5 to 10 minutes. I think maybe because they came to the same link, So kids maybe later on
But
joined the
did
same
they
link.
actually log out? Okay, so you were the last one to log out, but you found some. Okay, that should not happening, sir. I mean, like, because if I don't think really. So if you are the last one, then you can absolutely either disable the link if you want to do that. That is also possible. So from settings,
They
you
must
can
not have
reset
done
the
that.
link.
Yeah, yeah. That they
Yeah,
might not have
or
done.
you can disable it for the students. Yes, then they won't even get to see the link.
So I'm only taking questions which are related to the admin, not about teaching and learning. Uh, so you have to remember that. Can we create app for school in the G Suite? I don't know whether you got it.
App you can let's say if you want to add your app in G Suite, that is possible. So you can use any tool to create the app, and if you want to make it part of your admin console, that we can absolutely do.
Can you explain settings to be done in admin console with respect to students? You must have covered a bit about it, but what
I
kind
have
of settings? Yeah, what kind of settings you want to summarize? Just summarize.
So there are settings like they should not be able to change their name, so the account name, the profile picture. For example, if you want to disable that feature, that is possible. If you want to give rights only to join the class, not to create class, that we can do. So students will only just join the class and will not create the class. Then yes, settings for Google Meet, we can make changes from Google Classroom directly, so the links will not be visible to the students. Let's say if you want to make changes, for example, students should not post or comment in your classroom. Only teacher can do that. So that is possible from Google Classroom itself, or else you can disable that feature from Google Admin Console. But yes, I've covered where we can make the
Yeah,
changes for the G Suite apps. That is also possible to make either for a user or for the complete OU.
yeah. So I think that's quite a number of questions we took. I just want you because there are still okay. There's one more question. I'm not able to see the emails in my box. I don't know what shiny means.
I'm not
I'm
able to
not able
see
to
the
see the
email.
emails in the inbox, the one created for the school by the admin. Do you?
I think if I got it correctly, I think that the Gmail is not active, it seems. So they are not able to receive or send emails, what it seems like. But yes, if that's the problem, then the admin has to set up or change the MX records, because that is not enabled yet, I think. So that's the reason you are not able to receive the emails in your inbox. So maybe you can request your administrator to update the MX records and make the changes in the DNS. I mean, like, that is the administrator can do, and then you will be able to receive emails.
Uh, Vinod, there are many more schools who are in the registration process. I mean, you are totally aware of that. So there are
Yes, sir.
schools which are you can explain them quickly about the multiple stages, right? Like you have the registration, verification, and then we finally get them the Google form where they mention the case study number. So you want to explain this whole journey so that people who are just still struggling for that, and how is our process? What do you do when people enter on the Google form? Like I always say that if you enter in the Google form, they will pick it up and it happens, right? So you want to explain this whole process a little bit?
Yes, yes, sir. So there are three links, three steps to register for G Suite for Education. So the first step is to share details about the institution, sharing some documents which proves that this is an educational institute. So maybe some affiliation number, accredited documents. So that is the first step. The second step is to verify the school domain. So the domain which you have used, to create the website. So let's say if you already have a school website, that means you do have a domain as well. So that is the domain you need to verify to register for G Suite for Education. That is the second step. Now, third step is there is a form which is specifically for education. So you need to fill the details and submit the education upgrade form. So that means you want to register your school domain for education. So that is really important. If you do the first and second step, if you don't submit the education upgrade form, then that is the incomplete process and the domain will not get registered to G Suite for Education. So I request you to complete all these three steps. All these three steps are online. So first is to information about your school, second is to verify the domain, and the third step is to submit the education upgrade form. Now, as soon as you submit all these details and the document, or when you fill up the form and you share the case number with me with 3 yes, then I share the details and the domain name with our support team because they have to verify, and then they provide access. So if they find, yes, you have completed all three steps and you have submitted all the documents along with the education upgrade form, then only they will be able to do the verification and they will be able to provide access to G Suite for Education. So my request is to, complete all three steps, and to submit the education upgrade form and then share the case number with us. And we can expedite the process so you will be able to get access to all the tools under G Suite for Education.
There's one question which we'll just take one or two questions and wind off. So we are able to add some same group of students in 3 classes only in one day. For adding those group in other classes, we have to add them the next day in the class. Is there a way out to get over this?
So there are group policies. So there are some group settings you can check. So I think that is like related to the policy of the group. So again, when you are creating a group, you can check the policy as well, like how many users and what all access you will be given to all the users. So my advice is to check the policy when you are creating a group, and then you can make the changes in the settings
Yeah.
because there is no
So,
limitation for that.
yeah. So someone asked me about recording the meeting. How do we record the meeting? You want to share?
Right, sir. So the first thing, as I've discussed, the meeting recording option should be enabled from the admin console. So as soon as you get access to G Suite, the first thing for the administrator is to enable recording and stream option in the admin console. Now, the host or the organizer who is going to create that meet will be able to record the session. So when you are going to join Google Meet, on the right bottom corner, there are three dots. When you click on those three dots, you will get to see the option for recording. So you can click on that and your session will be recording. So now once the session is over, the recording will by default go to your Google Drive because there is going to be a folder specifically for your Meet recordings, and you can find all your recordings under that folder. So that's how we can record and then we can share post the session. The same recording can be shared with all the participants.
The Google launcher doesn't allow to download of any application as the admin has disabled. So it is up to the admin to decide on the Google launcher.
If they have disabled is yes. Similarly, you can enable and disable the Play Store as well. So not every user will get to see Play Store also. Only admin can add the apps from the Play Store or from the marketplace. Similarly, they have to enable that feature so they get to see in the under user ID.
Okay. Yeah. So for those people who are asking about G Suite, how to use and all, we have done enough training sessions. You'll find enough videos on the same channel for you to refer to. For those who are requesting that we should also conduct training for parents and students for them to see how to use it as a student, so definitely we'll consider that. Uh, Hello, I'm a new user of G Suite. We had used regular Gmail before and set up accounts for individuals as subsidiary accounts of the main school account. Could I split those emails?
Sorry, we had used regular Gmail before and set up accounts for individual means school account. No, I think the best way is to use the G Suite accounts, not the Gmail accounts. So you can create the G Suite accounts for them. You can create the specific OU for student, and you can add all of them in that OU itself. So we will suggest to create a G Suite account. I mean, not use a Gmail account, but yes, you can absolutely create all the G Suite account for all the users you have in your school, so everybody will have access to all the tools along with the unlimited drive storage. Because again, if you are going to use Gmail, then again, it's a consumer account and has limitations to it.
Can anyone misuse the email address ID of school student?
Misuse, as in, sir, I mean, like,
So I think the all the G Suite email addresses are resting on the domain, and
right.
it can't be much secured. A regular Gmail is still accessible by many, but when you're resting on the domain, it's more secured. And always remember that it is all resting on your domain. It's not resting on anywhere else. It's in your domain,
Yes.
which is your entity, which is your property, right? So I think that clarification is important. And we had addressed about having assemblies for all kids. How many people can we take together? Right now in Google Meet.
Right now, sir, we can have 250 people
Yeah,
in one video conference. But yes, if you want to broadcast the same session within your domain or within your school or the domain you have registered, then you can definitely do a live streaming, and then you can have it like you can invite almost 100,000 people, so almost 1 lakh people can join the live streaming within your domain. But to answer that question, sir, if there is a
yeah,
threat to the user ID and password, if you're
yeah,
saying somebody else has an
yeah,
access, then you can absolutely request the admin to reset the password for your account.
yeah.
But again, if you want to, if just a suggestion, if you find that out, but
So
yes, you can absolutely reset.
see, there has been a lot of these kind of questions about privacy settings, right? Because
Right.
schools are really worried and they've just okayed everything, right? So then the worry comes: what about my data? Is Google taking my data? I get these kind of questions always. So I mean, personally, I use many apps. I always make it a point to look at my privacy settings, decide what I give to others, decide what I restrict, right?
Yes.
Sometimes, so I think you want to share a bit about it as to how to build a discipline around this settings.
Right. So the two ways, I mean, again, about the user ID, let's say if you have this, fear about the misuse of the user ID, you can absolutely enable the two-step verification in admin console. So you can enable that for every user. So they have to, use the two-step verification, and then they will get access to all the tools. So that is one. The second about the security, let's say when you are sharing data using Classroom or Meet, so we don't really share that data. I mean, it doesn't come to us. We don't monetize the data. Every information you share within your domain, that remains within your domain itself. So not even a third outside user will have access to the data which you have shared, either using Google Classroom or through Google Meet. But yes, when you are creating folders or when you are sharing documents, because all these tools are collaborative as well, so you can even invite people or teachers or students to work with you either on one document or one sheet or one presentation. So when you are inviting them, then also you can define the right if they can just view, comment, or if they can edit the document along with you, then only they will get access to that document. And when you are sharing the folders where you have all the resources, then again you can set all these rights only if they can just view the documents in that folder, or if they can make changes as well. So you can define the right when you are inviting other users to work with you on the same document, or if you are sharing resources, while sharing the drive folders. So you can define these rights to them. So that's again up to a user how you want to invite them and work with you and collaborate with you on that document or the folder.
Yeah. So I think the privacy settings and it's almost like your own house, right? You want to protect your house, right? So if you want to have a security door in front of the main door, it's your choice.
Right.
So you have to actually spend some time. Everyone, right? Sometimes we just scroll down the approvals and we just go and tick mark, right? And we just never go to the settings. And this not only happens in Google, it also happens in Facebook, Insta, all kind of apps, even the WhatsApp which you are using, right? You need to ensure that that it is controlled, right? And those settings are allowed, or you have to study it. So every app you download, it will, when you download, it will ask, can I give notification on your behalf, can I do this, can I do that? Some people do not allow you to even download without you saying yes. So you need to decide. The decision is always with you on what to store and what not to store. In all the browsers, I mean, you have to go back to your browser, look at the settings, what permissions you have given, what you have not given. They will always ask you, right? Because you have to understand, even when you go to Facebook, right? Now Facebook works a lot on data, right? Because sometimes you're on Facebook and suddenly you'll see some context coming about schools. You might think, how did they come to know, right? But the your user pattern is usually studied by many organizations, right? And they look into what you are doing. So if you're a school person, you will see all kind of probably school ads coming in front of you. It is not magic. It's because you have allowed them to actually have a look. So you can go back and say, okay, do not share my data with other websites. All those stuff is there in these settings. So I think you have to be a little bit more cautious, and don't worry, don't get excited with what people say. The world is like this. You have given data all across. The problem is only we have given permission for others to use data. So be careful. And I think we have answered many of those questions. This can just go on. But thank you, Vinod, for spending your time. Murli had to be dropped out because he had a bad network. Thank you so much for your time. I know that you go meet by meet, right from morning till night. And thank you for sharing this time. And thank you for all the support you offer in ensuring that our schools are able to reconstruct classrooms and get ready for G Suite. And thank you so much. And looking forward, thank you, viewers. We'll plan more sessions in the future, and we'll try to see how we will look at a student and a parent, on using G Suite. We'll plan some sessions on that. Thank you so much, and take care. Thank you, Vinod. Thank you.
Absolutely a pleasure, sir. Thank you, sir.
Thank you so
Thank you,
much.
everyone. Thanks a lot. Thank you.